passing Mike Murga and is in front of him by at least 4 or 5 yards. He started slowly, but now he is moving quickly, and the next baton pass will be critical. Mike Murga handing it off to Frank Gibb. Oh, that is a bad pass. That's a bad pass. But Frank Gibb is just turning it on. Boy, is he moving. He's covering some ground and closing the gap. The camel is slowing down, and it's anybody's race. We're down to the finish line, and oh! It is a photo finish that's way too close to call. What a race.
Can we watch this news anchor who reacted to Taylor Swift being engaged?
Taylor Swift is engaged.
I am so much more frightened of the women that follow Taylor Swift religiously than I am of anyone who lives in Saudi Arabia, including the Bin Laden family, by the way, who I hope to have dinner with, actually. The people that have chosen to make this woman's life their life. Her engagement is their engagement. The soundtrack of her life is the soundtrack to their life. Those women need to have burqas on them now.
Taylor Swift is engaged.
Burqa. Burqa.
Taylor Swift is engaged.
Burqa.
Taylor Swift is engaged.
Acid attack.
Come back to me.
Virtue
She
police.
just posted it.
Get her.
Oh my God. Oh, it's huge. The ring is ginormous.
In the
I'm
house.
so excited.
In the house. You're not allowed out of the house.
Oh my God.
In the house now.
Oh my God.
You're out of the house without your husband. Jail.
It's on her Instagram.
Jail,
It's
jail.
on her Instagram. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Honor
oh my God.
killing.
I feel like Paul Revere right now.
Stoner. Stoner honor killing.
This is a very
honor
exciting
killing
moment
in the
for me
town
and my
square.
professional-
And I'm supposed to be scared of Saudi Arabia? I'm supposed to be scared of Saudi Arabia. This is the news. CBS News. If you broke down in tears because Taylor Swift got engaged to that vaccine shill, you need a burqa draped on you now, acid in the face.
You have also said that Congress is an Israeli-occupied territory. Now, what do you mean by that?
I said on the McLaughlin Group in response to a question, Jim, they said, do you think that the Congress of the United States will resist this demand for further aid? I said, threw out a crack I'd heard. I said, no, the Congress of the United States is Israeli-occupied territory. What I meant by that is the most powerful lobby in Washington, which Congress can't stand up to, one of the most powerful, is certainly the pro-Israeli lobby. It has gotten its way in this town year in and year out. And I don't think the automatic votes of the Congress of the United States for $3 and $4 billion worth of aid to Israel are necessarily in the national interest of the United States. And that comment, which is to ridicule the subservience of the Congress of the United States, is perfectly valid.
Do you believe there are members of the Congress of the United States who are voting the interest of Israel over the interest of the United States?
No, I think they're voting the interest of a powerful lobby, which they can't stand up to in many cases, one of many. They cave into lobbies all over this city. I think the Congress of the United States, where it's got brave men on both sides, is an institutional coward, and that when a powerful lobby can influence or defeat them back at home and they can't get much support on the other side for a vote, many of them who will even tell you privately, I can't stand up to that kind of heat, they will vote for it.
But why have you singled out this particular, if you say there are many powerful lobbies?
Well, was a question was thrown to me on the McLaughlin Group about Israeli aid. Should I have talked about the National Rifle Association at that point?
No, but I mean, there's a pattern, as you know, that are like, this is what William F. Buckley was talking about.
I don't know where to begin, Joe Resinello, with those.
Acid in the face.
Because you always, for those first 3 clips every week, you always pull up stuff. It was like, where the hell did he get that? The midgets. I mean,
Oh, that's fantastic.
I don't even know what to say about that. I don't even know. But here, let me comment on something. All right, and I do want to talk about the Pat Buchanan, Jim McLaughlin clip. But before then, Joe, I've done a lot of crappy things in my life. Okay, I've been in many.
Have you ever raced a camel?
I never. Well, no, you're right. I never raced a camel. I never actually did that. But I've done a lot of crappy things. Okay, I have never, even at my lowest point. I don't make as much money as that reporter that was in the second clip talking about Taylor Swift, okay? I've done a lot of boneheaded things, sinful things, and everything else. I have never gone crazy over a celebrity doing anything. Other than maybe making a really good movie. Like me and the boys back in Newark, we used to, when Goodfellas came out, we talk about Robert De Niro and yeah, what a great performance, and Joe Pesci and all that stuff. I never got excited when they got engaged or when they got divorced or when they had kids or when they bought a car or when, the only thing I really, back in the day when you used to be able to watch the Academy Awards, I was genuinely happy when Joe Pesci won the Academy Award, okay? But that had to do with his acting. What do I care if Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged? Did you see the reaction of that girl? Oh, OMG, Taylor Swift got engaged. Joe, you got to have an empty life. You really got to have nothing going on to get that excited about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce getting engaged. Am
Dude,
I wrong?
Like what Tim Dillon was basically pointing out, that's CBS News, dude. That's not like a high school girl. That's CBS News.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, Joe, to be honest with you, it's all a show. It's all a show, and they're just feeding people what they want to see because that's what they want to see. And to be honest with you, and then we're going to talk a little bit about this later on in the show, they understand people. They know how to push your buttons, and basically that's what it's about. It's about push. I have a hard time believing that that woman actually cares about Taylor Swift. Most probably she has an Ivy League degree. People don't just become newscasters on CBS News by going to community college. Most probably she went to a very prestigious school, and if I was to bet, she lives in a very, very expensive neighborhood. You get paid very well to be a broadcaster on CBS News. Don't tell me that she cares. What you should take from that is they're playing you. And that is what I take from it. And I think that's exactly what Tim Dillon was trying to bring out.
No, I agree. And like I said, I'm just dumbfounded by that. Like, I was like, really? Like, that's your reaction to a celebrity getting engaged? Like, and you're right.
Dude, that's people's reaction. How many people buy Star Magazine? How many people buy People Magazine? Who cares?
Right.
Who cares what these people do? I don't even know who half of them are. Periodically, I have not seen the ball drop in maybe 30 years. No exaggeration. And periodically, I'll be like, I don't even have a TV, but periodically I'll watch like the run up to it. That maybe 10 years ago I did. And they'll have someone, I don't even know who they are. Right. I am so far out of the loop as far as like these people. I don't even know what they do. I couldn't tell you a song Taylor Swift sung.
Oh, right.
She's a billionaire, Joe.
You probably have heard a Taylor Swift song. Like back in the day, if you heard a Rolling Stones song, you would say, oh, it's Rolling Stones. Give Me Shelter or Jumpin' Jack Flash or something like that. Or if you heard a Springsteen song. Nowadays, you hear it somewhere. If you're in New York City, if you're working in New York, you hear it somewhere. You go into a Starbucks or wherever the case might be. You might hear it in the background, but you're kind of like, I don't know who that is. And more importantly, I don't care who it is. The music is insipid. Okay. Modern music is just dreadful. Now, the old timers used to say that about our music because they loved Frank Sinatra and Bobby Darin and Tony Bennett and Bing Crosby and all these people. Okay. So, but I think I can make a pretty good argument. What the Rolling Stones and classic rock had to offer is a lot more than what they're hearing now. And then to get all goo-goo and gaga over their personal lives, it just tells me is like, I never cared what Mick Jagger did. You making a good song? Springsteen, you making a good song? Making a good album? Robert De Niro, what's your next? Goodfellas? I'm going to be there. I'm going to see it. Okay. I didn't care about their personal lives, but I guess nowadays that's not the case. As far as the third clip is concerned, I get tired of people, and I remember that interview, by the way. I remember that from back in the day when Pat Buchanan got in trouble because he said that the United States Congress is Israeli-occupied territory. Now, he was saying that 30 years ago. But you see McLaughlin, again, this is where the media, even what a guy who's considered a serious guy like Jim McLaughlin, right, or what's his name? It's not Jim McLaughlin, but the reporter that was in the clip.
I knew his face. I don't recall his name, but I recognize his face.
You see, well, there's a pattern with you. You see how he's calling him an anti-Semite?
Well, he is. Well, that's to deter him from saying it. That's a tactic. Ultimately, I mean, to your point, that conversation took place 30 years ago. If people were to look at basically the favorability rating of the Congress over the last 2 decades, whether it was a Republican or a Democratic president, whether it was controlled by the Republicans or controlled by the Democrats, you will find that I don't believe that there's been a point in those 20 years that they've had a favorability rate over 30% in America. The reason why is because of that clip. That's not an isolation comment about Israel. It's about lobbying because they don't represent the people. You could listen to clip after clip. Tulsi Gabbard goes into a lot of detail because she was in Congress, and she talks about, there's a great clip of her going through the day, the average day of a congressman, what they do. And that is why our country, these are the people who make our laws. That is why our budget does not represent our asks, because they don't listen to our voices. The voices that matter are the people who support them with regard to their campaign. That, and I don't give money to Congress. And that is reality. And that is what I hoped Trump was going to change. And he proved that he didn't. He proved that in that ridiculous big, beautiful bill. And he has also proved that with Epstein. The Epstein debacle had, and we're going to talk about this too, because it was back in the news, had very little to do with the women, believe it or not, even though that's the focus. The reason why that list is not out, and the reason why Joe Biden didn't distribute it, and the reason why Donald Trump didn't distribute it, and if J.D. Vance was to become the president, he's not going to either, and if Shapiro, who's a Democrat, becomes the president from Pennsylvania, he's not going to either, nor would Rahm Emanuel, nor would AOC. Because these are the people on that list who took advantage of young girls, give money. Period. End of story. The girl thing is the ancillary issue. It's horrible, but that's not why the list isn't being pushed. The list is being pushed, and we're going to talk about Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is a congressman from the far corners of Kentucky. Do you know that billionaires are pouring money into his opponent's campaign to get him out of Congress? Why? Because he's raising this issue. Why would a hedge fund billionaire care about what's going on in Kentucky? That's why. Right. And again, people don't either connect the dot or they don't care. Our government does not represent us. That's what the Epstein list is all about. That's what that conversation about the Jewish lobby is all about. And that has to stop. Until that stops, our voice isn't heard. Our laws don't represent our asks. And frankly, our budget is still, it's like out of control, and it will remain out of control. And that's reality.
That is reality. That is the reality of the situation, and that's what we do here at the Frontline with Joe and Joe. We try to confront the reality of the situation. You mentioned, Joe Resinello, that they don't represent the interests of the people. They don't care about the interests of the people. There is no better example of that than Mark Carney with temporary foreign workers. Let's play the clip.
Mr. Poilievre called this morning on the government to scrap the temporary foreign worker program. Is it time to shut the program down?
Well, I would say the following, which is that that program has a role. It has to be focused in terms of its role. And it's part of what we're reviewing. It's part of what we will be discussing, how well the temporary foreign worker program is working and how our overall immigration system is working. We've been absolutely clear as a government that we want, and we're putting in place policies so that the overall level of immigration as a proportion of the population will decline from around 7% today to around 5% several years from now. Now, the biggest contributor to immigration is not temporary foreign workers. It's a variety of other factors. And I will say, et je vais répéter en français parce que c'est important, when I talk to businesses around the country, particularly in Quebec, but elsewhere across the country, their number one issue is tariffs, and their number two issue is access to temporary foreign workers. Okay? Et pour le moment, c'est une des grandes demandes du gouvernement du Québec et c'est une des grandes demandes des entreprises québécoises. Il faut garder ce programme, pas éliminer ce programme. Alors, mais on peut, ce qui est clair, on peut améliorer le programme en total, ensemble de l'immigration. As a whole, it's clear that we can improve our overall immigration policies. We're working on that, and we're setting clear goals to adjust.
What you said about them not caring about the people was just encapsulated in everything he just said.
100%.
He said the businesses want the temporary foreign workers. Oh, their main concern is tariffs. That's the jab at Donald Trump. Okay, that's the jab, but they got to do that first. That's obligatory from all of them, is take the jab at Donald Trump. In the meantime, tariffs have done nothing to shake up the world economy. We're just getting paid what we're supposed to be getting paid, and we're not paying as much as we were. So that's the whole tariff issue is now behind us. It's basically 15% reciprocal tariffs for the most part, with some exceptions across the board, and the market's back to all-time highs. So I'm tired of hearing that. That's number one. Number two, he's not responding to what? So the people in Canada want temporary foreign workers, or they don't want temporary foreign workers? They want people coming in that you're allowing in, Mr. Carney, you and Starmer and Macron and Germany and all these places. You allow in all these workers, okay, that are diluting the wages of
Bingo.
your people, and you don't give a shit. I'm sorry to curse, Joe, but that's the bottom line. You don't care. But what do they do? And then I'm going to throw it over to you. Why does Carney and Starmer and Macron and the Germans, why are they all able to do what they're doing? Because the press is just going to not hold their feet to the fire and actually say, you want to know what? No, the Canadians, they kind of don't want temporary foreign workers. They want those jobs, but they want better wages. They want higher wage. Well, of course, we can't do that because that's going to disrupt too many things. Right. It's going to disrupt your corrupt system that you've had in place for decades. Joe, please.
Foreign workers, to your point, Joe Pasillo, lower the wages of nationalists. This is a situation that we share with Canada. We've seen it in Europe too. It's also a situation where both liberals in Canada, not liberals, elites in Canada who call themselves Democrat, who call themselves like conservative, who call themselves basically progressive, share the same thing in America. Why? Chamber of Commerce Republicans love it. They love it. Lowers the wages. Cheap labor, love it. Progressives love it too. Why? Because you put them on the dole and basically they vote for you. You let them in. You put cheap labor in many cases and you give them things. In doing so, you buy yourself a vote. And that is why the border has never been fixed in America under Bush, under Clinton, under Obama. It just got exacerbated under Biden because people knew that their ideas couldn't sell, so they had to import a voting population. But ultimately, both Republicans and Democrats, both conservatives and liberals in Canada share the same strategy. They want the cheap labor. It benefits them on both sides of the aisle, and that's why they don't fix it. It's such an easy fix, to be honest with you. They refuse to do it. Who does it benefit? People like Mark Carney. Who does it not benefit? The working poor in both countries. And they don't care.
They don't care at all.
And people who pretend or compartmentalize that in their head aren't paying attention. And to be honest with you, some do know. And I wonder if they care. Do you care? Because ultimately, though, when you destabilize a nation, like Canada has been destabilized, that affects everybody. Mm-hmm. And that's something that, again, people don't think about. Our country, to a larger extent, particularly our cities, they're not completely destabilized. They have gone off the rails. Chicago, which we're going to talk about later on in the show, is a war zone. Has been for years, but it's a war zone. I wouldn't live in Chicago if you paid me.
Right.
And this is what happens when you do these type of tactics, and that is just what they are. They're tactics. They're power tactics. They don't benefit groups, working groups, but ultimately it breaks down society, and there's a cost to pay, and we're paying it.
Oh no, listen, Canadians, Americans, we're all paying for it through the nose. And the thing is this, and we are going to go to Thomas Massey in a minute. Here's the thing, like you use Thomas Massey as an example. 70% of the people of his district vote for him. So when you talk about tactics, now this is where I'm going to blame the people. If you talk about, I don't care if you put $1 billion, if you're George Soros and a bunch of his buddies, and they put $1 billion to unseat Massey, ultimately the people have to buy that lie that they're selling. So I blame the people. You don't know that this guy is on your side. You can't tell the difference at long last. After all this BS that's gone on over the last couple of decades, you can't tell the person who's lying to you right to your face and the guy who's actually on your side. You can't tell the difference between a Lindsey Graham and a Thomas Massey. Okay, you can't tell the difference between a Chamber of Commerce conservative Republican who just wants that cheap labor that you're talking about and a Thomas Massey or a Rand Paul. Ultimately, then, Joe, look, they could pour, my larger point, they could pour hundreds of millions of dollars into any one of these campaigns. Ultimately, if they're doing that and you're voting for who they want you to vote for, it's your fault. And the consequences are your fault. It's not theirs. I don't blame George Soros and the rest of those people for doing this. The scorpion bites. We've said this the scorpion stings. We've said this a million times in the past. You know what the scorpion is going to do. So if you know he's going to sting, then why do you listen to him? Why do you buy into what he's trying? He's going to try to convince you he's not going to sting you. You buy into it, and then he stings you, and you say, "Why did you do that?" He says, "You're the dummy. You know that's what's in my nature to do is to sting. You believe me? That's your fault. It's not mine." And that's what's going on in politics all over the world, by the way. Not just Canada or in the United States. It's all over the world. They get away with it, but ultimately, it's the people that let them get away with it. I'm going to leave it with this. 2020 election. Everybody knew Joe Biden and the Democrats stole that election. And the people did not have a popular uprising to say, I want this reviewed. In all of these states, I want it reviewed. The people said, oh, I guess maybe he really did win. Shame on you. That's my attitude towards those people. Shame on you. You allowed it to happen.
Well,
I have no sympathy, less than zero sympathy for the people who are crying when they allow it to happen. They don't want to listen to reason.
No, to be honest with you, there is a bit of that. There's also political identity where people basically their politics is their religion. And basically no matter what takes place, they vote a certain way. There's definitely large segments of the population that do that. But then there's people, frankly, who are just uninformed. And to be honest with you, the press plays on them. And that's kind of what we were going to talk about today, too. We're going to give a few examples of that, both in Canada as well as in America, because it's a show. And it's like a marketer. A marketer understands you better than you understand yourself. They're pushing your buttons. It's propaganda. The advertisers control the media, and the media puts out what the advertisers allow them to. That's how it works, both on the conservative side, quote unquote, and on the liberal side, quote unquote. It's basically to divide the nation, and ultimately the people who win out are the people who are on top. And that's been going on for decades. This is nothing new. Ultimately now, because of venues like X, you could dig in a little bit deeper and get a deeper understanding. We're still not seeing everything, but we can get a little bit more understanding from experts, from people like who go on shows who aren't controlled by advertising, who can say the truth and basically do. And they tell you, like I said, Tulsi Gabbard, someone who was given the keys. She was on the fast track to power under Obama. She gave them back. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in what you want me to do. You could listen to a person like that. Why? She's not lying. Listen to her. This is even before she basically got into it with Trump. This is when she was a Democrat. She's telling you what's going on. People just close their ears to it. It's just as if it doesn't affect them. That's another crazy idea. People like live their life thinking somehow this is not going to affect you. There is a very small percentage of the American population, and even smaller percentage in the Canadian population, where politics doesn't matter. Like when you make a certain amount of money, like say I was worth $2 billion, it doesn't matter who the president is. Doesn't matter. In fact, what you will see with a very small group of Americans, they give to both parties. Like the Koch brothers, the
Koch brothers,
Koch
yeah.
brothers, they give to both parties. They don't
Sure
care
they
who
do.
the president is. It's just about me. I am so rich, it doesn't matter. Well, that is how it works. And ultimately, many people, again, they're just absolutely not paying attention. They buy the propaganda, but your life is affected. And your life of your children is going to. Do you know that Donald Trump is close to calling a national housing emergency because people can't afford houses in America?
Right.
The regular person, do you hear what I'm saying? That was such a common thing. Like you could have been a garbage man in America and owned a house. In fact,
Sure.
I knew people who did. They're garbage men. They owned a house. That is so unheard of in anywhere else in this world. If someone's a garbage man in India, they work barefoot. Just so people know, barefoot,
Right.
picking up garbage. They don't have a union. They don't have benefits. They sure as heck don't own a house. Well, the regular person right now, because of the policies of our ruling class, particularly because of the Biden administration, and it's not all their fault. This has been going on for decades, but they exacerbated it by printing money. The middle class can't buy a house. The average person's age right now in America, listen up, people, it's 38 that buys a starter home. In America, 38. How are your kids going to buy a house? You listen to what I'm saying. Oh, keep ignoring what's going on. How are your children outside of them crushing it? And I got news for you. Not everyone crushes it. You can get straight A's all through high school, all through college. And when you get into the real world, you don't crush it. That's reality.
Right.
So here's the deal. How are your children going to buy a house? Right now, it's 38. The average first-time homeowner in America.
Yeah.
That's only going to go up. Just so you
No,
know.
it is only going to go up, and it's a. I mean, look, you got people can't afford houses. You got like you said, garbage men used to be able to own a house. You don't even have to keep it with garbage men. Okay, my father was a Teamster. Your father was a barber. They bought houses.
That's right.
They owned homes.
That's
They
right.
had there was access to home ownership. Who is it that we speak to all the time? Dawn Brohan and Michael Graney.
Correct.
Their big thing is distributism, which is just another way of saying we need more widespread ownership of the means of production. One of the means of production is land, owning a piece of property, which generally is your own house. Okay, but this has been deliberate. See, when guys like Carney open his mouth and a lot of the oligarchs, you mentioned the Chamber of Commerce, conservative Republicans, when they open their mouth, they're not interested in you owning your own home. Klaus Schwab said that. We've been covering that for years. You're not going to own anything and you're going to love it. You're going to love it. You're not going to own a house. You're not going to be burdened with that type of stuff. Oh, how about if I want to own a house? How about if I want to own land? How about if I want to be able to own the means of production? See, if I own a piece of land, I could go out and borrow off that piece of land, and I could then use that money to invest in something else and grow wealth for myself. Now, if you multiply that by hundreds of thousands and millions of people throughout the country, you know what you are? You're now the middle class. And guess what they need to do? Guess what people like Carney and all the oligarchs want to do? They want to destroy the middle class. That's always been what they want to do. I wish people would get that through their head. That means your kid, like you mentioned, Joe Rossinello, that means your kid's not going to be in the middle class. That means your grandkids aren't going to be in the middle class. Do you care? Do you care?
Well, people live in rationalizations. It's not going to apply to me. Things are going to get better. I don't know if they're going to get better, to be truthful with you. The middle class is shrinking unless there is a radical change, and that's what people voted for. Do you know? and this is a metric that matters. We're soon going to have potentially a communist who is going to be the mayor of New York City. Do you know that like it's in the high 50s? We'll call it 56%. 56% of voters under 40 in New York City support that guy who is a communist. What should that say to you? What that says to me as a metric that matters is they see no hope. You see, that group of people, some of them are educated, they're strapped with debt, they don't have a high-paying job, and they see no hope. So what are they doing? They're turning over their freedom to the government.
Right.
With the quote-unquote hope, which is a lie, they're going to take care of you.
That's right.
That is not only a delusion, but that is exactly what the elites want. And that guy will be nothing more than a puppet of the elites, as Obama was a puppet, as Joe Biden was a puppet. Nothing more. Barack Obama owns 3 mansions. He never worked a private sector job in his life. He owns 3 mansions. One in Martha's Vineyard, one in DC, and he's building 2 homes next to each other on the beach in Hawaii. Right. He owns over $100 million worth of real estate. Right. He never had a private sector job in his life.
He's been paid well.
But this is my point. He's nothing more than a puppet to people who are pushing and pulling his strings. Joe Biden was the same thing. Right. This is why America needs an outsider. And to a degree, Trump has delivered on things for the American people. I don't want to be too disparaging. I want to be fair. But Trump proved that he will not push it as far as I wanted. I wanted him to dismantle that budget. He proved to be just like everybody else. That budget is no different than Clinton's budget, no different than Bush's budget, no different than Obama's budget, and no different than Biden's budget. That is what I didn't vote for. Right. And the Epstein list is also another taste. It's a benchmark and it's a metric to show that Trump, too, is to a degree playing ball. I don't want any of these guys to play ball. And until people figure that out, that no matter who the president is, when they play ball, they're not playing for you.
That's right. Play Thomas Massey. Let's play Thomas.
There's over 200 Republicans who have not signed this discharge petition. We only need 2 of them to sign it. And every Democrat will sign it. And that will get us the number we need to force this vote, to pass a law, not a polite request to the DOJ to police themselves. No, we need legally binding legislation to force that to happen. And my main call to action is to the people watching these live feeds that are going through these cameras right now. Congressmen, listen to you. Light up their phones. Burn down the phone lines here in Washington, D.C. Ask them the questions that these survivors wanted you to ask them. Why won't you be for transparency? Don't accept their answer that the bill has a flaw or that the survivors don't want it. We know that's not true. They wouldn't be fighting it so hard in this town if it wasn't the real bill. So with that, please call your congressman. Tell him or her to get on this bill and to stand up for these survivors. Thank you and God bless.
And he makes a good point. He's making an appeal. He's even joining with Democrats, which I'm not in favor of. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the fact is, they're not going to do a damn thing about it. Thomas Massey is just what do you call it? He's just I won't be crude. So, but he's just talking to the wind because they're not going to do anything about it. Not one thing. Because, like you said, there's too many important people that are going to get exposed. And they don't want that to happen, and that's the way it is. And you're not going to get a disruptor. Now, if you had a Congress, let's say a Republican Party full of Thomas Masseys, both in the House and the Senate, this country would change overnight. Overnight, okay? We would take some short-term pain, but at the end of the day, we would emerge stronger on the other side. The middle class would be better off. The working class would be better off. A lot of the oligarchs wouldn't be able to get away with the nonsense that they get away with.
And that's the difference.
Right.
There'll be a shift in power. And it's not the power shift that most people are thinking. It's the power shift from the truly powerful people, and they're not letting that happen.
No, they're not going to let that happen.
That would take literally a revolution. It would take something similar to what we just saw in El Salvador, where 85% of the population joined together because they were fed up of the murders that were taking place for decades. You see, that's a revolution, a political revolution. Another political revolution is what took place in Poland. What brought the people to that point when John Paul II was elected Pope and went to his home country? It was a nonviolent revolution. Decades of suffering under communism before people wake up to the reality of what's taking place.
Joe,
we shall see where it goes.
Let me say this to you on just a little bit more of a political philosophy level. You say to yourself, why would a civil war in a particular country at any point in history, why would that take place? Isn't everybody supposed to be on the same page? The fact is that many people within a particular society, let's use America, okay? Half the American people do not like the United States Constitution. Half the American people do not like our free enterprise system. Now, I have a problem with our system as it currently is. However, as general principle, we are free marketeers. We believe in private property and individual initiative and entrepreneurship and all that, okay? I don't like the way it's going now, but having said that, there are people who don't like their own country. What I never understood is, well, if you don't like it here, like if America became unbearable, I would honestly look to live in another place. Like I would say, I don't want to shoot my neighbor. I don't want to go to war with my neighbor. If he's not going to leave and it becomes unbearable for me, I don't want to go to war. I'm going to go somewhere else. But civil wars happen because nobody wants to ever acknowledge that. And yes, I'm going to say this about the left in America. The right is cowardly. The Chamber of Commerce Republicans come to mind. They're corrupt. Okay. The Chamber of Commerce Republicans come to mind. They're feckless. Okay. Thomas Massey speaking out against them comes to mind and say, why don't you have the courage to release this list? I will criticize the Republicans, okay, along those lines. But the Democrats hate America.
Some. I don't want to say all. Some are deluded by the
Joe,
press.
real quick. I'll give it to you. I'll throw it over to you. This Democrat Party, if there are voices that, like you just probably rightfully said, don't hate America, they're very, very silent.
Well, I'll tell you this. There is an awakening going on in the Democratic Party. You hear it on social media. Voices that are basically coming out of nowhere that are critical of the Democratic Party. Democrats, that's a good sign. To your point, Joe, the people who are in control of the Democratic Party right now do not like this country. They have absolutely no respect for the Constitution. They do not believe in the Bill of Rights. And frankly, if they had their way, I don't even want to know. We almost got there. We saw a taste of it. And if this guy wins in New York, we're going to see a taste of it some more. And I'll tell you this. If the American people do not pay attention to the signs of a guy like, what's his name, Mamdani in New York, and a metric that 56% of people under 40 have no hope, and they're looking to a communist. If we don't pay attention, the elites are paying attention. And they're going to fill that vacuum. And when that vacuum gets filled, the middle class is going to disappear, never mind shrink. And that is where people, and Charlie Kirk brings that out very well because he goes on college campuses and he talks to people, as in he talks to people. Many people on college campuses see no hope. The cost of college to just get a regular degree. We're not talking about becoming a doctor, a medical degree, which was a guarantee of a big check. It's not even a guarantee of a big check anymore, the way healthcare is structured. But as far as just getting a regular college degree at a regular school, I'm just going to pick one, at Hofstra, at Iona. These are colleges in the Northeast. Arizona State. It costs too much money.
Right.
And the jobs that these kids, the average kid, we're not talking about the elite kid. We're talking about the average kid. We're talking about the people in the 80%, which is most people. The average kid who gets a 3.0 at Hofstra, he's not making the money to pay back the debt, which means he can't buy a house based on the metrics till he's 38. This is the American dream. How is that going to get better? And what politician is talking to that metric? Republican or Democrat? I'm listening.
Thomas Massey.
Who is talking to that metric is Mandani in New York. He's telling you a piece of reality. He's saying you can't afford anything. You have no power and you're not going to have any power, but I'm going to help you. So people are desperate. And frankly, people don't know history, or they know history and they just block it out because their life isn't where it's supposed to be or it should be. So they say, I'm going to give this guy a chance. And then they go further in the hole. And that's where we're at in America right now. Don't get confused about the stock market because the stock market is controlled. The top, like I think the stat is the over 80% of the equities on the market are owned by 11% of the population. Don't quote me on it, but it's close. If you did, the bottom 50% of America owns zero.
Right.
No equities, nothing. That's not the representation of the American economy. So my point is we're heading in a direction where the middle class is going to disappear, which means the American dream disappears. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. And here's another thing. Not everyone is in that top 3% slice that got a 1,400 on their SATs, that are mathematical geniuses. And I got news for you. There's people like that, frankly, because I've worked with some of them, that still don't make money. Because they can't get out of their own way. Their social skills are disgustingly horrible.
Well,
you put them in a corner, they can't work. So my point is to the people who make that type of money is such a small segment of the society.
Right.
And it's not going to be the average kid anymore. That's the direction we're going. And it's scary. It scares me.
No, well, listen, it scares me that I don't know why we allow the you mentioned Mamdani in New York. Okay. Chicago's a nightmare. LA's a nightmare. San Francisco's a nightmare. All these places. I don't know why people just don't at some point say, look, the future here, let's say if you live in New York, my sister lives in New York. Okay. She lives in one of the outer boroughs. I don't understand what compels people to want to stay there when people should just vote with their feet, go to a place where there's like-minded people, and start to heavily populate that place and draw power away from those cities. I don't get it. I don't know why anyone would stay in Chicago, because we're going to play a clip right now showing a couple of people that if I was a Chicagoan, I'd be like, I'm getting out of Dodge. Play the clip.
You're going to hear people, especially this past weekend, 54 shot, 7 dead. Yeah. They're going to say the city's not safe. Would you ask your friends to ride the L after midnight or after, 9 o'clock at night even to come down to the city from O'Hare?
Look, big cities have crime. There's no doubt about it. But let's just pay attention to what President Trump is doing targeting Chicago. He's overlooking red states that have much higher crime rates.
Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people, a land that is built by workers? Are you prepared to defend this land? The people united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong. If this president decides to continue to break this Constitution,
I would tell Brandon Johnson right to his face, with 1 million people or the whole country watching, I would tell him right to his face, no, slaves did not build Chicago.
People probably don't know. That's the mayor of Chicago. For those people who don't know.
No, you're right. That's the mayor of Chicago. I would tell him right in the face, you want to talk about the Southern economy? You want to talk about slaves there? No. Immigrants, Catholic immigrants from Germany, from Ireland, from Italy. They built New York and Chicago and Newark. They're the ones that built that city. The indigenous people didn't build anything. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't have a horrible time. I'm not saying that, okay? They didn't build anything. And the slaves did not build Chicago. They didn't build LA. Black people participated, but not slaves, okay? So he needs to get his history right, first of all.
Well, he does. He's a propagandist, Joe. I mean, he's talking about what he's doing. First of all, let's talk about the governor. Did he come across as caring at all?
No,
that was such a cold response. And by the way, the red states, the cities, they're not perfect, but they're functional. They're functional. Go to Texas. Why do you think people are leaving California and moving to Texas? Go to Miami. Go into, like, these are functioning states.
Can I throw something out there to you real quick? I know what he's making reference to. He's probably making reference to Memphis. And Memphis is in a red state. But Memphis is controlled by the Democrats.
4 decades. 4 decades. Same with New Orleans. 4 decades. In fact, the mayor of New Orleans is now going to jail. So this is my point. That came across. Does he live in that neighborhood? Of course he doesn't. Does that mayor live in that neighborhood? Of course he doesn't. We've talked about this. The mayor of Washington, D.C. publicly came out and recognized the fact that crime went down. The people that are complaining what Trump is threatening to do in Chicago, I heard he also mentioned potentially going into Portland, Oregon to crush some of the Antifa radicals that are there. They don't live in those neighborhoods. It's easy to talk when you don't live. Your neck isn't on the line. And that's exactly what that governor, how he came across to me.
Well, think about it. What does him pointing out violence? Remember, that fat billionaire, okay? He thinks he's slick, okay? Well, what about the red states? We're not talking about the states, Governor. We're talking about the cities. The cities are run in those red states. As you mentioned, New Orleans, Louisiana's a red state. Memphis, Tennessee's a red state. We're not talking about the states. We're talking about the Democrat-run areas within those states. Now, there are areas where the people of those Memphis, the people of New Orleans, they vote for, the people in Houston, okay? They vote for Democrats, and it's Democrats that run those areas. But like you said, how cold is he to just brush off the fact that every single weekend black kids are killing other black kids in these cities, and all he's got to do is say, Trump's a bad guy. We're not going to let Trump do whatever he wants. But you're not doing a damn thing about it. And that Brandon Johnson, he's Lori Lightfoot on steroids, by the way.
Well, what he's doing is basically they're rallying up potential violence against the people who potentially could come into that city, the National Guard. That's what he's doing.
They're all going to die. They're all, Joe,
of course.
You said this a million times on the show. If the federal government wants to, it'll crush you like a bug.
Oh, that's a fact.
If he thinks he's inciting those kids who are carrying handguns, okay, to go against the National Guard, they're all going to die.
But that's I got news for you. They don't care because that will just get put on the news. That man is doing exactly what the radicalized Democratic Party did for 18 months talking about January 6th. He is inciting a mob. Those comments were nothing short of inciting a mob. And frankly, those potential kids that could potentially cause trouble would die, and they would be used by that machine to fight Trump. Because it's all about power. It has nothing to do with you. All those people that burned down Minneapolis, all those politicians, they don't live in the rubble. Guess who does? The very people who burned their own neighborhoods down. They still are there. And they have to live in the rubble. They're nothing more than tools to a bigger machine. And that's exactly what that guy was doing. That is the second biggest city in America. And those were violent words that he used. That is nothing more than inciting a mob. And it is only because of power. It has nothing to do with the kid who's brainwashed, who's 16. Do you think they care if he dies?
No, they don't care who lives or dies. They care, like you said. That's what we're dealing with in the world, and I wish people would get that through their thick skulls. Is we're dealing with people, and yes, we're very even-handed here at the show, at the front line with Joe and Joe. The right is equally to blame for a lot of these problems. The left is just more blatant about it. Okay. And yes, I think that Republicans, again, are corrupt. I think the left is evil. I really do. They embrace every evil ideology there is, and they try to promote it to the point where they make it seem like you're not supposed to be outraged that these black kids are killing each other. And yes, it's black kids killing each other in Memphis, in St. Louis, in Chicago, in Detroit. It's black kids that are killing other black kids. But if you or I say something, well, you have no right to say anything about it. Why? I'm not a human being. Why? Do I want to see that 22-year-old kid get shot by this other 18-year-old kid, and you people do nothing about it? You people that run the cities do nothing about it? All they do, you know what? We've said it a million times. They're actors and actresses. Now, I'm not Pritzker. Pritzker is just a rich guy who runs a very, very large state, okay? He's not an actor. He's actually an evil bastard. That's what he is. But most of these people are actors. Let's play the clip. Here, Jasmine Crockett. She's all...
First of all, it's good to see you in the new year. You know, no one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress.
Baby, because these people, they are crazy, because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on that side are getting divorced because they getting caught up sleeping with their co-workers, staffers, interns, all the things. Yeah, you ain't got to believe me. Just go Google. You'll find some of it. I'm telling you, and the wives is being messy and petty. They putting it in.
So this is what I think about Crown Royal. That's what they can do. And I think everyone else should do the same thing.
Now listen, you don't throw Crown Royal on the ground in front of me, okay? I'm going to get a little upset. I would say, listen, who's that, Dougie? That's Dougie, right? I say, Dougie, listen, Dougie, you might not want it. Just put the cap on it and give it to me, pal. I got a Jet game to watch. I'm going to pour a little Crown Royal. But they're actors. They're actors. It's what, like, the Catholic kids in Minneapolis got shot recently, right? By that deranged tranny, okay? Very, very sad situation. Okay. And the mayor of Minneapolis, he's got lines, and he gets his lines. He studies his lines. He reads his lines. I'm outraged that's all you're thinking about is prayers. Number one, God will straighten out every situation, Mr. Mayor, not you. Okay. Even though you're charged with the duty to do something about it, those prayers are efficacious. You know what's not efficacious? The fact that you have laws in Minneapolis, and I'm guessing here, but I'm probably right. You have laws to prevent armed guards from being in front of a church or being in front of a school. We've proposed ideas. When you talk about you want an idea? I'm going to pray that somebody like you comes to your senses and allows metal detectors and armed security at all public schools in America. That's what I'm going to pray that you come to your senses about, and tell the ACLU when they try to fight against that to kick rocks, that we get judges that will tell the ACLU to kick rocks, because guess what's not going to happen to kids in public schools if there's armed, let's say retired cops who get a side job as security, armed security at public schools. Little kids ain't going to die, because when one of those deranged kids walks up with a rifle that's going to be looking to shoot those kids in the school, they're going to die. That's what's going to happen. And when they see the armed guard in front of the school, okay, they're not going to enter. They're going to go home and go back into their cave and into their dark world. And we need to pray for these people. That's it. But people will not die. Taking my friends' guns away from them as a part of your agenda is not going to help to save one kid in that Catholic church or in any public school in America. And the audacity that they have. But my larger point, that's why we played Jasmine Crockett, and that's why we played Dougie Ford. They're actors. They're actors and actresses. They get lines, they read them. They're there to cater to an audience. That's all they're there for. They're not there for any other reason than to say their lines and to vote the right way. That's it, Joe.
Zelensky, actor. Macron, studied acting. Trudeau, actor. Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett is a lawyer. that image of her on the left, I'm not saying she didn't go to a crazy fancy law school. It's a lower tier law school, but she does have a law degree, which means she is intelligent. And she sounded intelligent. And then we play her when she is under the guise of the script. She's reading the script and she's playing her demographic. Why? Because she's getting rich. She's getting rich. That is nothing more than a put up. And here's the thing, both sides buy it. I watch people go berserk on social media, like Republicans. Oh, Jasmine Crockett, she wants you to do that. She's playing you too. And then she's playing the people, pretending like she's some street girl. She's not a street girl. She's a lawyer.
Right.
And then you have Dougie Ford. How did the Canadians rally and put Mark Carney into office? They rallied against Donald Trump. They united the people against Donald Trump. Dougie Ford is playing his demographic. That's nothing more than a show. He's pulling your strings. People don't pick up on it. They eat it up. They eat it up, and they know it. They know it. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, Joe. And that is how these guys and these gals operate. They understand the voting population better than they understand themselves. They play on them. That's what he's pouring liquor out. It's a show. It's pure theater. And they all do it. They all do it. People just can't see through the fog. They eat it up. And Frank, like Jasmine Crockett, there are people in her district, they eat that crap up.
Yeah.
They eat that crap up.
They're like, you go, girl.
They got that. She's got the nails and she's got the eyelashes and she's just doing that thing. And frankly, they eat it up. Yep. Meanwhile, she doesn't talk like that at home. No. Do you think Barack Obama and Michelle Obama talk like like when Barack Obama's on a soapbox? And about y'all, you think Barack Obama, who went to Harvard Law School, and Michelle, who went to Princeton, do you think when she's home, she's like, hey, Barack? And he's like, oh, I don't know about y'all. No, that does not come out of his mouth. Do you think he hangs out with people like that? If you do, you're delusional.
You're right.
You are friggin' Barack Obama and Michelle Obama live in a $40 million mansion on Martha's Vineyard. Do you think their neighbors talk like that? Do you think they go to dinner with people like that?
No. Absolutely no. That
it's
is
a show.
Definitely not happening.
It is a friggin' show.
Well, it's all a show. I will say
and people eat it up. They eat it up.
I will say this, and then we're going to wrap it up for tonight. But don't go anywhere because we got a clip. We're going to leave you with a clip from Dwight Eisenhower after we're done. But I will say this. I think that given the fact that Donald Trump has tried to put the kibosh on his own supporters, okay, when it comes to Epstein, when it comes to some other things where he gets pushback and people are not letting him have a pass. And I'm going to take that as a hopeful sign that at least in America, even when it comes to Donald Trump, to say to him, no, you said you were going to release those files. You said you were going to do this, you were going to do that. Listen, Lila Rose in the pro-life movement proved that when he tried to take the middle ground on abortion during the campaign last year. And he got a lot of pushback on that. You know what he did? He started to keep his mouth shut. So I think at least we're getting some response in America. We'll see what happens. Joe Rossinello, I'm going to give you the final word.
Ultimately, Joe, the show must go on. It really does. But ultimately, people, I say this time and time again, they have to see through the fog. They have to see through the fog. We have the opportunity to do that. There's a lot of voices out there. And to be honest with you, many of them are middle of the road. They're not partisan voices. Obviously, people have their opinions. I have mine. You have yours. But ultimately, we're all in this together. Our neighbors are not our enemies. Our neighbors are not our enemies. We have to see things clearly, and we have to unite on the things we can unite around.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And that is how the country always was made up of all different types of people. You don't have to agree on everything, but there are many things that we can agree upon. And if we do, I think we can move forward. If we don't, the oligarchs win and we the people lose.
Unfortunately, that seems to be the case. So anyway, we want to thank you all for joining us here at the Frontline with Joe and Joe. We're going to leave you with a clip from Dwight David Eisenhower warning the American people, because this will be a good start, is if we go back against Republicans and start to pull out from the rest of the world and start to defund the military industrialized complex. Anyway, Thursday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern time is generally when we go on. That's when we plan on going on this upcoming week. Always have these great conversations. If you visit us anywhere on social media, X, Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube, help us out. Like, subscribe, share this video, share these conversations. And remember, until we talk to you again, that our conversation is your conversation, and that conversation is going on everywhere. We'll talk to you soon.
A vital element in keeping the peace is our military establishment. Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action, so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction. Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime, or indeed by the fighting men of World War II or Korea. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty